Welcome to Sales is Not a Dirty Word, the podcast that shows you how to convert 8 out of 10 sales conversations without acting like a douchebag. I'm your host, innovative sales coach Aleasha Bahr, the creator of the Black Sheep Sales Method, because if it's a fit, it's a fact, and there's no selling involved. If you're a service provider selling your own service who's ready to sell differently than the mainstream status quo and win more sales without pressure, pitching, or pretending to be someone else, then this is for you. If you want to know more about the Black Sheep Sales Method, then go to aleashabahr.com. This episode is with Meghann Conter. She is the CEO of The Dames, a global business incubator where extraordinary female leaders of 6 to 8 figure businesses connect and thrive. Meghann, a 2024 top 25 most powerful women in business in Colorado and contributor to Forbes and Psychology Today, uses her unique blend of sketch comedy and business savvy to teach concepts with humor and heart. Once a burnt out, over-networked CEO, she has become the ultimate global connector, believing that anything is possible through fearless collaboration, laughter, and love. At The Dames, she fosters a space where self-worth and net worth align joyfully. And you guys, I met Meghann at improv class before I even knew about The Dames. And when I found out that Meghann had a group where she led with sketch comedy, I was completely in. I mean, what is more black sheep than that? People probably said that was a terrible idea and it was weird, and she did it anyway. And it holds such a tight culture at The Dames of people who love that she does that it's so fun to meet all of them. I've been a member for, I don't know, 5 years now, and I'm so excited to bring her on the show so you can learn a different approach to networking, because just like sales, networking is not a dirty word. So let's go. Welcome to the big show. Sales is not a dirty word, Meghann.
Let's go. Let's do this thing.
I'm so excited you're
too.
here. So I know it's been an evolution. You started, you've always been a huge connector, but I remember you saying that you were connecting with everyone and it like wasn't going anywhere. And you were like, oh my God, I'm like dying by coffee chats, basically.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in my marketing business, which is what I previously did to The Dames, I was trying to grow my low 6-figure business, and I was paralyzed by the consistent needing to meet people in person, perceived need to meet people in person, need to have all these one-on-ones online, need to have this, need to have that. And I was over networking. I mean, I was also single. So, I kind of think I was trying to use it as a way of meeting men back in the day.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, I was over networking, and I was becoming a professional wine drinker and coffee drinker and just spending entirely too much time out, and had no strategy for it either. I was like, I just have to sell my services. I just have to sell myself. And that's what I'm out here doing. Because that's what everybody else is doing. And that's what the realization that I had to have was like, oh, that is the worst way of approaching networking. Everybody can feel how slimy that is. And I knew that because I felt the slime from everybody else. So that was the first, like, duh, if everybody else feels like that to me, they feel desperate. They feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this, if I don't walk away from this networking event with 7 leads, I'm not going to be able to put food on the table next week. If everyone feels like that way to me, I must feel like that to other people, because I'm approaching it kind of that way too. So that was one of the first, like, ding dong, something's wrong.
Well, and that's what makes it a dirty word, is that people are like, do you want to buy from me, or do you know anyone who would like to buy from me? And so how did you discover a better approach?
Yes. So eventually I realized, I joined a mastermind group and realized, oh my gosh, okay, first of all, I am fishing in the wrong ponds. I'm hanging out in the wrong groups. And I am really craving to have community and connection with other women-owned businesses who are facing similar challenges to me at this point. And I also feel like gosh darn it, where are all the other women who run successful businesses? Like, I'm surrounded by a lot of other people who are like hobbyists who, maybe make $50,000 a year in their Melaleuca business or their Juice Plus
Hmm.
business and
Oh,
MLMs, or,
yeah, yeah.
I'm getting hit on by the insurance salesperson or 17 financial professionals who want me to be their clients, or, all that. And I'm like, I want to find the people who are out there building community in order to elevate themselves and their businesses and to receive support in order to do that. So I looked around Denver and I could not find anything that was exclusive to women in six figures who wanted to grow to seven figures. And I started interviewing some of the women in my mastermind community who had grown their businesses past 250K. And I was like, what are you missing? And they said, a space where we can go where other women really get us because they're facing the similar problems that we are, and where we're not constantly being pitched, and where when we are heard or when we are expressing what it is that we're dealing with, the people we talk to get it because they're going through it too. So if you can somehow create that space, we would attend, because so many of them had actually retracted into their offices and just started working alone because they felt the same way I did about networking. And, the other part was they were bored to death going to most networking events. They're like, this is the most boring thing. I'd rather sit at home and watch grass grow, because everybody's just bored and they're trying to sell each other, or they're drunk, or they're, there's so many terrible things about it. So that was really what led me to go out and say, all right, I'm going to create something that's totally different for women running 6-7 figure businesses, and that has humor forward approach, so that we have this reverse mullet where everyone comes in and they're immediately grasped by humor, and they're able to really let their hair down, let their defenses down, and create connection more easily and more authentically, because they're not having to posture the first thing they walk in the door.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is such a unique experience in your groups is the level of vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
that is encouraged.
Yep.
So the truth is, I mean, we've all seen the back end of enough businesses at this point. I've never seen anyone who has it all together. Literally, never once. And it's so relieving and empowering to be able to share that with somebody and hear that you're not alone.
Totally.
And most I keep hearing from women, I am so grateful that I don't have this experience because I'm in your community, but a lot of times women say that other women are very competitive and are trying to put other people down by pretending that they are more successful than, know more than, more doing things more appropriately, more correctly, more whatever. And it makes me so sad because honestly, when women come together and support each other, it is powerful. Women are thoughtful, they are detail oriented, they are driven, they are funny. They get shit done on
Yes.
another level that men do not get done
Nope.
together.
Yeah. And I really think that that was another impetus for me, was like, okay, well, if all of these other communities have that kind of woman in their groups, it's got to be a systemic issue. And it is, because if you allow that behavior of, okay, networking is surface level in most groups. You go in and you have a shit ton of small talk, sorry, shit ton of
Yeah,
small talk.
kills me.
It's just,
Kills me.
how are you? Oh, I'm so good. Or how are you? Oh, it's been tough. How are you? I mean, it's like such surface level stuff. And really, truly, a lot of times, if you're, and I am not saying this in a negative way, if you're a hobbyist in business, or if you are part of the 87% of women owned businesses that don't make it to 100,000, that is the status of most of your life. Like, I'm doing okay, but you're not making the money that you need to really sustain and thrive. You might be sustaining. but you're not in a space where you have your needs met, and now you're able to really look at growth or sustainability or adding more significance into your life or adding more enjoyment into your life. You're running and not feeling like you're getting anywhere. And that's what a lot of networking is. So it's understandable that that's what it breeds, and that it breeds more competition. Because if you're out there and you constantly feel that low vibration competition energy, you inevitably start embodying that. So I decided to create a high vibration level where, by all of us being past 100,000 and past those initial stages of worry and constant, up all night trying to figure out how we're going to make this thing work, you create a space where social posturing isn't necessary anymore, and where small talk is, I mean, it's minimal. It does happen because that's kind of like is what creates some people, gives them comfort. But those who really come into an organization like this and get massive benefit from it are those who are willing to let down their guard, realize that they're not alone, and that they are, by essence, a woman who is built for community, who is built exactly like you said, wicked smart, wicked resourceful, able to do so freaking much. And why wouldn't you want to ask those women how they've been doing it if you're stuck somewhere? Why wouldn't you want to be able to do that? You wouldn't, because you would be afraid to ask. You would have all this past programming of what's wrong about asking, of what's wrong about being vulnerable. Well, the last time I was vulnerable, this bit me in the ass. Well, the last time I asked for something, this happened. It's like, stop doing insanity. Stop doing the same thing and expecting different results. Let's change the way that we're doing things, and then let's get comfortable with ourselves. Let's build up that authentic, aligned confidence. And let's then approach each other from a space of, okay, I don't have all the answers. Obviously, nobody ever does. And I have some great ideas, and I'd like to contribute those to a community. And I'd also like to get really freaking clear on what it is that I need and ask for it and get that from my community. That's what responsible, accountable, amazing women business owners do. And that's how they get to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, the way you're explaining it is kind of how men for the longest time have been growing. It's like who you know, not what you know, right? So, who you know, are they resourceful? Do they have information that is a gap that you have? And, can you swap that information and that kind of thing? And so, it's so funny because at events, when people come for the first time at Dames events, when it's their first time, they always are like, what do you do? And they almost don't understand that it's so different yet. And I remember talking to one of them and being like, full transparency, I'm an ambassador for the Dames. And so talking to one of them and being like, this is a different brand of woman that is very hard to find. She is raw.
Irreverent, doesn't give a shit
Yeah.
about what other people think, has gotten past those stages. She's inappropriate in some ways, right?
Yeah, the humor, usually not everybody, but often sweary. I know I sure am. And I remember this one woman was like, I don't know. Like, why would you want that? Like, in any other, like, why? And I'm like, well, because you're not having to mask. And you could see that, like, she'd never even considered the idea that she was masking in other groups at all, and that the thought that she didn't have to had pretty much never occurred to her.
Mm-hmm.
So there is so much strategy beyond this wonderful culture that you work very hard to maintain. You're also changing the way women are thinking about interacting with other female business owners. For example, the ask that you're talking about.
Yep.
So many people, when you ask them, what do you want to ask people for? They say, I want clients. And they're not going to get clients. That's not an ask. So there's a lot of material and support to help women get clearer on their ask in the group. Can you shed some light into, what what made you realize, like, the strategy behind having an ask that is not client referrals, but ironically leads to client referrals?
Yeah. I mean, it comes from your own personal abilities to generate what it is that you're looking for. So I learned sort of a version of the power partner strategy that I now teach in that mastermind that I spoke of. And it was really my first introduction to this concept of, wow, if I have a whole bunch of other people around me who know what I do and who I work with specifically and the results that I provide, and they're out there building community and connecting me with ideal clients or with other power partners, that's going to help me a heck of a lot more than me just having to go out and constantly sell myself. So it's sort of like the community aspect was a light bulb in my head of like, oh, if I just serve others with my natural talent and ability to connect people, I can teach other people how to do that. And then I can also help other people understand that if we can be not only each other's referral partners, but understand that we might have other benefit for each other, or that I may be able to help this person mastermind through a problem that they're facing, and that might provide them with incredible value right now. And that person might be able to turn around and create a collaboration with someone else who's serving the same target market and increase their footprint. And then that person can turn around and give an ideal client referral to another person. It just becomes this community full of holistic reciprocity where everyone is fed and everyone receives because they get it and they see how it's working. You know, a lot of this is like the whole reason why I have started from the very beginning having 6 and 7 figures as all the people that are in the dames is because statistically speaking, there aren't that many, 2%, sometimes 3, depending on the stats you read, of women that get to the 7-figure mark. So how are we supposed to get there if we don't know people who've gotten there? How are we supposed to get there if we can't ask them the hard questions? So that was something that I created as an opportunity right off the bat, is giving 6-figure women the opportunity to ask questions of those who are at the next glass ceiling at 250K or 500K or 7 figures, wherever it is, and having a culture where a culture of generosity. So vulnerability is the first thing you said, generosity is another. If you come in with an abundant mindset into any community and you act and as if and knowing that there is more than enough business to go around, when you and 7 other financial advisors are in a room, you figure out really quickly that your ask gets better when you get clear on who you're here to serve and what it is that you can do to help the prospective audience get an inkling of an idea of what it's like to work with you. So you ask the question of how do you actually develop that ask? Well, we don't want to assume that everyone we talk to is our sales department. That's not their job, right? That's for you to help them figure out who their sales department should be and train them. They're here to really help you get connected to whatever it is that you need. And it's your responsibility as a business owner to say, what are the ways that I could get in front of my ideal clients through the people who already know them in a way that's consistent, that's repeatable, that's easy for my power partners to send them to, and that really gives them all the information they need and the clarity they need in order to answer that question. How can I help you? Right? So an example, if I were to say, hey, Aleasha, how can I help you? And you were to say, well, I need clients, for my sales program. And, it starts next week. Worthless, right? Worthless ask. I can't really help you.
It's
I
a
don't know.
terrible ask.
Yeah. Who, where, when, any of that. But you would be
Yeah.
shocked as to the amount of people that's their ask.
It's very unspecific, but also it's an ask for a client.
Correct.
But also it's like who, what kind of client, and what are they looking for? And I totally get what you're
It's a
saying.
lazy
And
ask.
the specificity is going to get a better result, but also an ask that is not for a client referral.
Yep.
I think that's what's super different
Exactly.
about this group.
So here's an example of one that's not for a referral. So once you get into the dames and you start to understand this concept of golden goose, golden egg, other networking organizations, other organizations, incubators, etc., you're going in, you're looking for that end client, the golden egg. That means you're constantly hunting, back to the beginning of this conversation, of that low vibration feeling of everyone being hunted. In the dames, the concept is we are each other's golden geese. So we help each other lay multiple golden eggs together in collaboration, in masterminding, in celebrating wins, in making connections, in cross promotion, in all these different ways. And then when we get to that point where we understand who our best power partners are, we can create a resource that makes it easy for our power partners to get our expertise right in front of those ideal clients, for example. So you being able to create, or I'll use the example of someone we both know. She's a realtor. She has a very clear niche. It's Macy Chance. It's, those who are women with children going through divorce. And most of the time, her ask is very clear, right? If you know anybody who's going through a divorce, who's a woman that has kids and is trying to figure out how to sell that house and get another house, it's a clear niche, no doubt. However, how often am I actually going to run into that person who needs you?
Mm-hmm.
Very infrequently. So now she's created a resource for all of her power partners, who are people like divorce attorneys, financial advisors, wealth advisors, etc. That's a resource for their clients when they first say, hey, I'm going to go through a divorce, or I'm considering going through a divorce. And it's a PDF resource that's like, here are the first things you need to do when this is your thought. And then she can give that to all of her power partners, and they can share that on a consistent basis with those clients. They can share it out in their newsletters. They can share it out in multiple ways. And that gets her increased exposure to that audience. That is a clear ask, especially when she has all of the resources ready for others to be able to share that out.
Yeah, that's a great example. And to help the listeners, I want to give some other examples. There are newsletter swaps. I'm looking for people who want to do a newsletter swap where we both promote each other. I'm looking for communities that I can present in. Does anybody know any communities where I can show up and offer value? Or let's do a collaboration. I want somebody who has this similar target client, and we will offer a workshop together that we promote. And all of those things, or like podcasting. Does anybody have some podcasts that I can be a guest on? And those things end up building relationships where people remember you so much more. And one of the things that I do now, because of my participation in this group, is I have this mixer once a month. And I've gotten kind of precious about it, like who I invite to it. It's very like all my favorite people, almost like your wedding when you have all these people from different places in one place that you love so much, and except like your family that you had to invite, but like they're never in the same room together. And it's like that. And it's like, I hate meeting people that I love and being like, okay, see you never again, because it's hard. It's hard to keep up a relationship once you network if there's not a clear step.
Yep.
So if they're cool and I really like them, I can invite them to this monthly party where I continue to see them and stay in front of them. So it's like,
Exactly.
it's an invitation, it's a collaboration, it's an introduction, and it's so much deeper and better than simply asking for a client referral, which is just basically never going to work.
Yeah. And it's just, again, it's lazy. It is the laziest ask that there possibly is. It's like you didn't spend any time thinking about who your clients are, how to get in front of them, how to provide this other person value, because this is just one component as well of thinking about this. When you get into higher stages of business and you're scaling to the next ceiling of 750,000 in revenue, or 7 figures, or 8 figures, you're not thinking about ways of getting clients anymore. That's not even your department. You're the CEO. You're frying different fish. So you start thinking about, okay, how do I build the next level financial status, or the next level financial department of my business? How do I improve my already existing operational processes? what's my next big hire in terms of an executive team member? And when you're part of a community like the Dames, you have other women in there who've already done that process. So if you can come to them and say, hey, I'm at this roadblock and I have got to figure out a way to help solve this employee retention problem, and you have other women there to focus group with, to think tank with, and to say, how did you handle this when you came to this roadblock? What are some of the shortcuts that I don't know? What are some of the, red flags that I need to be looking for? That becomes more important at those stages, to have a community of women to be able to go to, than thinking about the lead generation problem. So we really have to understand that it depends. And the reason why you become part of these different communities that are for high caliber women is because if they're smart, they've separated it out at the different stages and the different ceilings that are being crossed, because it inevitably happens every time on our think tank circles. Those who are at 500K are having similar issues, and they're having similar wins. Those who are at 7 figures, same thing. Those who are at 8 figures, same thing. Very different from the problems that someone who's at 150 are facing.
Absolutely. So a lot of other groups kind of mix everybody together. So everyone's sort of lost. And the resources in the Dames, when there's this culture of resourcefulness, is incredible. Like, you can all of a sudden be in Forbes, get a new speaking engagement, get a great referral for an HR director who is going to help you with that retention problem that you're having. Someone that you can trust, because honestly, like, you've never done it before. You don't know how to hire. You don't know what to look for. And really, it's so easy to get quote unquote burned because you don't know if the person's good or how to vet or whatever. And so having people who can really help you avoid that is worth so much more. And then the fact that we're also doing sketch comedy and laughing and making like jokes that are, would be, somebody would maybe clutch their pearls in another group. Like, I love it so much. So that's a great stopping point for us. To recap for everybody, look for more than client referrals. Have power partners, people that make sense, that are complementary. Like, I'm a great partner for an operations person. They're usually seeing something's messed up in sales. I can help with that. And when I'm in sales, there's almost always some operations issue that I need to refer somebody to. And really, like, coming with generosity and abundance and vulnerability, and you will find the right people. And Meghann has definitely, I know you've had a lot of experience filtering out the wrong people, and that's okay.
It's actually great.
If they're not a fit. And I am grateful for every dame that knows she's a dame and every dame who knows she is not a dame. I am so grateful. So thanks again, Meghann, for making an appearance as our guest today.
Thank you, Aleasha.
Can you tell everyone about how they can find out more about you or how they could join the Dames?
Yes. So if you want to just, be entertained by a little bit of sketch comedy here and there, you can find me on Instagram at Meghann Conter. Or, of course, we would love to have you in the Dames, or consider it. Check us out if you are a woman running your own 6, 7, or 8 figure business and you have a great sense of humor, or you think you do, or you're becoming more allowing of having a comedy and a sense of humor. We'd love to have you come check us out. You can go to thedames.co/apply or thedames.co/video to check out a little bit more in short of who we are and what we do. And Aleasha, thank you as always for being such an incredible person in our community, an ambassador, an advocate of women's growth, and just having a culture that matters. It's really refreshing.
I feel the same about you. I'm so glad I met you in improv all those years ago.
Seriously, what a great way of a meet cute, right?
Yeah. So thank you all for listening, and until next time.